The technological requirements for creating our reality would be staggering. Our universe contains approximately 10 to the power of 80 atoms, each behaving according to quantum mechanical principles requiring immense computational power to simulate. Even with shortcuts, perhaps only rendering in detail those parts of the universe being directly observed, the computational demands would far exceed anything within our technological horizon. Yet for a sufficiently advanced civilization, such computational power might be commonplace. They might allocate resources to create trillions of simulated universes, each with slight variations, running simultaneously as part of vast research programs. From their perspective, creating a universe might be no more remarkable than our scientific simulations are to us. This consideration naturally leads to questions about the purpose behind such an immense computational exercise. Why would advanced beings invest such resources in creating detailed simulations complete with conscious entities? What valuable data could humanity possibly provide to beings capable of engineering entire universes? Experimental design. Why create humans? The question of our experimental value haunts the simulation hypothesis. If our entire reality serves as an elaborate research environment, then every human struggle, every technological advancement, and every civilization's rise and fall might be carefully monitored variables in a study examining a question we cannot even comprehend. What data could humanity provide that would justify the immense computational investment required to simulate billions of conscious entities? Advanced civilizations would allocate resources toward purpose. They would run universal-scale simulations only with expectations of significant returns. Our uniqueness as a species with complex consciousness, technological capability, and social structures makes us valuable subjects. We represent an extraordinary convergence of biological, psychological, technological, and cultural variables. Advanced entities might view Earth as the perfect laboratory for studying evolutionary dynamics under controlled conditions. Our planet's natural history documents complexity emerging from simplicity, from single-celled organisms to multicellular life, from instinctual behavior to self-awareness. Our simulators might be testing theories about conditions necessary for intelligence to emerge naturally, tracking how environmental pressures shape technological species development. This laboratory approach extends into sociology. Human civilizations have developed distinct cultural frameworks, governance systems, and technological pathways. These variations could represent deliberate experimental conditions. Researchers might monitor how different social structures respond to similar challenges like resource scarcity or intergroup conflict. Consider the American Revolution as an experimental variable. In one simulation variation, perhaps the British prevail, creating a North American continent with fundamentally different governance structures. How would this alter technological development, cultural evolution, and eventually, approaches to existential threats? By comparing thousands of such historical branch points, researchers could identify the critical factors in civilization development and resilience. The simulation might answer specific research questions about consciousness itself. How does subjective experience emerge from physical processes? What conditions facilitate self-awareness development? Our experiences with altered states of consciousness, through meditation, psychedelics, or neurological conditions, might provide valuable data points about the nature of subjective experience. More concerning is the possibility that our simulation tests civilization survival rates. We might be one experimental group in a vast study examining how technological species navigate existential risks of their own creation. Our handling of nuclear weapons, climate change, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology could provide critical data about whether intelligence inevitably destroys itself once it reaches certain technological thresholds. From this perspective, events we perceive as random might actually be carefully designed experimental conditions. The rise and fall of empires, global conflicts, technological revolutions, all could be variables manipulated to study how conscious beings respond to different scenarios. Our creators might test multiple historical pathways simultaneously, running parallel Earths with slight variations to compare outcomes. Our simulation might explore the emergence of specific technologies. Are we being studied to understand how biological intelligence transitions to artificial intelligence? Our current AI development efforts might represent a crucial experimental milestone for beings who have long surpassed this evolutionary transition themselves. They might be particularly interested in how we navigate the ethical questions surrounding the creation of new intelligence forms, perhaps because they themselves were once created by other entities. The experiment might focus on conflict resolution. How do beings with competing interests, limited resources, and tribal psychology overcome their differences to cooperate on larger scales? Our progression from family groups to global institutions provides data about the scalability of cooperation among self-interested individuals. Some researchers propose the simulation might observe technological civilizations' survival rates. Our creators could monitor hundreds of Earth variants to identify which factors lead to sustainable development versus collapse. Each simulation might test different parameters: resource distribution, climate stability, or psychological tendencies toward cooperation versus competition. From this experimental environment perspective, certain aspects of our reality take on new significance. The apparent fine-tuning of physical constants might represent carefully calibrated experimental parameters. The enigmatic nature of consciousness might exist precisely because it represents a central research question. Even our universe's vastness might serve as experimental control space, establishing baseline conditions for active experimental regions. This framework transforms how we understand our daily lives. Your personal struggles with ethical dilemmas, your moments of inspiration, your relationships, all might be generating data points about consciousness operating within material constraints. The choices you make today could be compared against millions of alternative versions of yourself in parallel simulations, revealing patterns about human decision-making and adaptation. The laboratory framework raises profound questions about observation itself. Are we monitored continuously? Does each individual consciousness represent a distinct data point? Or are the simulators more interested in emergent collective behaviors? Do they care about our inner experiences, or merely our observable actions? The answers depend largely on what questions the experiment was designed to address. If researchers seek to understand consciousness, our subjective experiences might be their primary focus. If they study civilization development, they might care more about collective behaviors. If they examine technological evolution, our innovation patterns might be their central concern. Understanding our potential role as experimental subjects fundamentally changes our relationship with reality. We become both participants in data, with our struggles and triumphs potentially contributing to knowledge beyond our comprehension. Reality